Okay, cool.
Do you need?
You'll say. This is the group.
Yes, absolutely. Welcome, everybody. Aren't we so excited? It's not -42. Yay! I'm so excited.
It wasn't so bad.
Strange as that sounds, you know.
My friend calls it Saskatchewan mascara.
That's exactly what it was. So we have the pleasure of having Scott here to talk to us about overtraining. I know some of us are kind of battling some scrapes and bruises, so this is definitely a good topic to cover. He is the owner and trainer at Best Body Fitness in Sylvan, author, athlete, very, very successful athlete. So learn.
Stubborn.
So yes, so.
Awesome, cool. Thanks. Hey, buddy.
There's another bench.
So time-wise, we're like 20 minutes is kind of the goal, right?
30,
30 even?
half an hour.
Yeah, okay, cool. Awesome. So I might even go longer than that. I'll try not to, but I get enthusiastic and that happens. Is it better if I stand up here or kneel? I'll stand a little bit. Then I feel so huge. Well, maybe not. So yeah, please come on up front so you can see. I did a PowerPoint this time because I can cover more stuff. And it was funny, the last time I spoke here, I said, how do we do PowerPoint? She goes, we did handouts. I'm like, oh yeah, right. Well, we've got a PowerPoint today. So, pointing at the right thing. Cool. Thanks, Running Room, for having me out to talk about overtraining. Cool. So, put you in the right direction. So, I don't know who you are, but wait, who are you? How many of you guys know who I am? Like a few people. Cool. So I'm just going to quickly rip through a little bit about me so you know why I'm talking to you and what right I have to do that. Cool. So I went from fat to fit in '99, which was great. And then once I got rid of the fat guy, I did an Ironman because that's what you do, right? And then that was great. And then after the Ironman, I joined Team Canada and I went around the world and I did all kinds of races. I became a certified coach. So I'm a level 3 national coach, which is great. I went to Australia and raced, and then I did Ultraman because Ironman wasn't hard enough. Does anybody know what Ultraman is? It's 10K swim, 426K biking, 84.5K run. And we always say because 85K would be nuts. So, yeah, and that was great. I'm actually wearing the shirt tonight as it happens. It was the one that was in my run bag. So that was really cool. And then, but sometimes, whoops, right? Because that happens. Right, and then I recovered a little bit from that, but I had to put my head back together, so I got a little smile from that. If I had enough street cred, I'd get a tattoo, but I don't think I do. And then this was the best part, though, is I was okay, and this is my 3-year-old, and I can look at that without crying now, which is good. That's growing. But they set me free from the hospital, and they didn't x-ray far enough up the arm, so they didn't know this was broken. So that was 13 days, and that was broken. And then they said, well, your shoulder's a little broken, but it'll be okay. And the Red Deer Hospital was like, no, it's in 4 pieces. So that was 13 days later, and they put me back together in Red Deer, which I really appreciate. It was awesome. And so then 2 years later, I did Ironman Coeur d'Alene. So that was
that was all from overtraining?
No. But it does relate, right? That's what happens when you overtrain. You break. No, not true.
Because I'm stopping now.
Right? I know. It's just sort of who I am. So I made this because it's funny. So I went from fat to fit to really fit, and then I broke, and then I got really fat. That's not really me. I'm just kidding. But I did gain 25-ish pounds. Actually, sorry, 35 pounds after the crash. So that I've been on my own journey, and I'm getting back to good, which is great. You can see it's yellow or whatever. So that's about me, right? Does that? So now you know who I am? Okay, cool. Yeah. Before we go, but hang on a second. So let's talk about great health because they're intertwined. How many of you think that overtraining and great health are connected? Are connected. Okay, those of you who didn't put up your hand, they're connected. I'll show you. So what's great health exactly? What is great health?
Being able to do what you want to.
Do what you want to.
Feeling good.
Good eating habits.
Good eating habits. What's great health?
Feeling good.
Feeling good. So it's more than the absence of disease, right? Right? Because according to the doctors, it's just absence of disease. Have you noticed that? When my wife and I were trying to get pregnant, it was a whole long story I won't get into, but we were at the endocrinologist and they were studying her thyroid, and when she was all cleared and good, and I asked him, I said, hey, I had a thyroid disease, and we're through that, but can you test my thyroid for optimal function to see if I'm 100%? And he goes, well, we don't test that. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I only know disease state. So that's interesting, right? So our medical system is kind of disease state, but health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And to have great health, you need 3 things. Little distractions back, it's okay. It's good. It's just calling for attention, you know, lose a child, you get, no, I'm just kidding. I don't know you well enough to give you that much of a hard time. But, all right, so we need 3 things. We need nutrition and hydration. We need exercise and recovery. Right? And we need motivation and accountability. Now, if you pull one leg out of a stool, what happens? It falls over, right? Now, of these 3 legs, if you pulled one of them out, which one do you think would wreck everything and you'd be sitting on the floor? Kind of any one of them, but I feel like motivation and accountability is the big one. Like if you're not motivated to exercise and you're not motivated to eat well, do you think that's right? What's the great thing about being in a run clinic or training for a half marathon or a full marathon or 10K? What's the great thing about that?
Accountability.
Accountability, and the motivation's kind of external because you signed up for a race, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just paid my dues to apply for the World Championships for Ultraman again last week. And guess how much the entry fee is for Ultraman World Championships?
2,000.
2,000, but it's US. Yeah, so I've paid that. That's motivating. right? Okay, cool. So nutrition, hydration. Now, at my run clinic in Sylvan Lake, we talked about nutrition for an hour and a half on Sunday, and I'm certainly not going to do that tonight. But just really briefly, I have to also, before I talk about nutrition, is issue a warning. How many of you have noticed that nutrition is like a religion for some people? And you just need to relax. Like it's okay. You can be a vegan and I cannot be a vegan. And you can do keto and I cannot do, we're both okay. Does that, have you bumped into that?
Yes.
Yeah, because this is funny. An atheist, a vegan, and a CrossFitter walk into a bar, and I know because they told everybody in 2 minutes. It's funny and true, right? Cool. So the challenge is, and we lost all sense, like there's paleo, vegan, vegetarian, raw food, blood type, Mediterranean zone, fast food, high food, right? Like it's bananas. So here's my philosophy on nutrition. Everything works if you make it work. Like I've seen people that are really healthy vegans. I've seen people that are really healthy keto. I've seen people that are really healthy vegetarians. I've seen people that are really, like it doesn't matter. People up in Tuktoyaktuk live on whale fat and raw liver and they're healthy. And people down in India live on rice and beans, they're healthy. Like human beings are omnivores. We're designed to survive. That's our job, right? We adapt to our environment and we survive. Does that make sense? And there are some things we know. Like you can't really be healthy on Twinkies and beer. For a while, right? I mean, you could, eventually it will catch up with you. Does that make sense? And my mom's 85, and she smokes 2 packs a day, and I love her, but she's hammered by 10 a.m. And I don't even think she really ever eats food per se, just sort of, kinda, and she's 85. So whatever, right? I wouldn't call her healthy, though. But anyway, I digress. So, look, for people like you that are athletic, like 40% first-class proteins, like quality proteins, and 40% complex carbohydrates, fruits, vegetables, grains like that, and then quality oils at 20%, your nuts, your seeds, your oils, your coconut oil, right? That is the best diet that I've ever seen in 20 years as a trainer for people who are active. Does that make sense? Yes? Just out of curiosity, are there any ketogenic people here? Probably not, because they hate endurance, because they don't have any carbohydrates. Right? Never mind. Okay, cool. So water. So I said nutrition and water, hydration. So water is really, really important as well. Who can tell me why water is important?
Because we mostly are.
We're mostly made of water, right? I was at the pool with my 5-year-old and I still have my little thing from the cul-de-sac center. Anyway, I just noticed that. Sorry, ADD. Why else is water important? Helps everything function.
Lubrication.
How? Lubrication, yeah.
Yeah.
Because human beings, because we're mostly made up of water, when your brain sends an electronic signal down through your body to your muscle to contract, that happens in a fluid environment. So if you picture your muscle like a piece of steak, because it is, it's a muscle, right? So picture going to Safeway and grabbing a piece of steak, fresh steak, and you're holding it. How does it feel? heavy, jam your thumb into it, it's squishy, you tilt it and the juices run. That's a well-hydrated piece of beef, right? Cool. Now, we're at the gas station and you grab beef jerky. How does that feel? Hard, like leather, still a piece of beef, but it's dehydrated. Remember grade 10 science class when you plugged electrodes into things to see if it would run the clock? Does anybody remember that? The potato clock and everything? If you put electrodes in a well-hydrated piece of steak, it will conduct electricity. A piece of beef jerky will not. So if you're dehydrated, muscles will tear instead of contract. They will cramp. Does that make sense? This is why hydration is important. That's why trainers always going, you need to drink 2 liters of water a day. 2 to 4 liters of water a day. I think 4 is excessive because you have to live at the toilet, right? But it depends on your output of energy. If you're exercising all the time and you're sweating, how many of you are like me, and even if it's 35 below, your jacket is wet when you're finished? Yeah, I sweat, right? When I teach my 2-hour hill climb spin class, gerbils could water ski underneath me. Right? So I sweat, so I need to put that back in. It does all kinds of good stuff, but as little as a 3% dehydration can result in a 10% strength loss. That's that electric signal through water thing. Does that make sense? Cool. And I say only water counts as water. Why would I say that? What about coffee? What about juice? What about tea? What about kombucha? I mean, why don't I count that as water? Why?
That's tea too.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of why. Why? I have a 5-year-old. I'm a big fan of why. So why would I not really count that as the 2 liters?
Because they can dehydrate.
They can, right? So caffeine and stimulants will put your body in fight or flight, which will cause your bladder to restrict and it'll flow out because you need to be fast and lean, right? So it's a stimulant, it's not a diuretic per se, but it will have a diuretic effect. But, see, I'm a big fan of why. People are like, well, I know I should drink all this water, and I know it's supposed to be water, but nobody knows why. Here's the thing, when you drink something that has been put together like tea or coffee, or if you drink juice, it has to first go through the liver system to be separated into this and that. And then it's water. But by then you've lost some of it. Does that make sense? When you just drink a big old glass of water, the body goes, yes! And it uses it. It doesn't have to work with it first. It doesn't have to separate molecules. Does that make sense? So that's why water is important to drink. Well, I drink lots of coffee. Not quite. Cool? All right, good. Cool. Exercise and recovery. Now, look at, so there you go. That's fun. Yeah. Running injury. Why you don't leave me alone? Has anybody had injuries that just seem to last forever? Do you want to know one of the #1 cures for injuries? Bloody eat! Feed yourself! Right? Because your human body needs to repair and it needs material to do that, especially protein. Protein is what your body uses to build tissue. Carbohydrates is gasoline, it's fuel. Fat is another fuel source as well as lubrication, but it's protein that our body uses to build new tissue. So if you're not eating enough, especially protein, you're not going to heal. Does that make sense? Yeah, cool. Okay, so rest day. Where's my rest muscle? How do I train it? Is there any of these guys in here? Come on. Who trains every bloody day? Okay, so the old running philosophy used to be, you run every day, forever. And that used to be how we did that. And now we're smarter, right? How many of your run programs have a day off? Maybe 2 or 3. Yeah, at least 2, right? That's a smart running program. Tuesday light run, Wednesday speed or hills, Thursday off, Friday speed or hills or medium, Saturday off, Sunday run long. That's kind of a standard thing, and that's really smart, right? So cool. Sleep and recovery, also super important. How many of you are sleep deprived? My hand is up.
A little bit, maybe.
Yeah, how many people own their own business here? So we're rich and we just work half days, right? Yeah, any 14 hours you like. Or 16, right? And only days that end in Y. No, but as a society, we're sleep deprived. So it's true. So how much sleep do you need each night? What's the number?
8 hours.
8 hours. Great. So is that all there is to it? No. So here's the thing about sleep. And a lot of the stuff that I teach when I do these talks, what I've done for you is I've gone out and done it wrong, and then I've learned. So you're welcome. I was sleep deprived and overtrained, so I studied sleep for you. So I knew someday I would come here. Okay. So human beings sleep in 90-minute sleep cycles. So when we go to bed at night, we jump pretty fast into stage 4 deep sleep. Now, how many of you are parents? How many of you have had that little toddler wake you up 30 minutes after you went to bed and you're 400 feet away from your eyeballs? Stop coming! Just go, where am I? Have you felt that? Anyone? Because if you wake up in a deep sleep, oh boy, that's a problem. Okay, because after 90 minutes, we almost wake up and we go into REM sleep, rapid eye movement. That's when we dream. One of the theories is that as cave people, we sort of woke up like saber-toothed tigers in the warring villages fire. No, we're good? Okay, and then we went back to sleep. Right? That's the theory. I don't know if that's true. I didn't design human beings. But we go for another 90-minute cycle, and then we dream a little longer at 3 hours. We go back to sleep, we come back up, 15 minutes of REM sleep, back to sleep, back up. I know there's a range, 30 to 60 minutes. I know mine's 30 because I've tested it. And then we go for one more cycle, we're awake. That's where that 8 hours comes from. But for me, it's 7.5. And I've tested that. So here's the fascinating thing. If I have a big deadline or I'm working a lot or I've got marketing and I know I can't get 7.5 because I've got an appointment in the morning, I've got swim practice at 7 a.m., it's too late. Then I will get 6 hours sleep. Because if I wake up in the red, I feel awesome. If I wake up down here, I feel like a bag of crap all day and there's not enough coffee in the world, even intravenous. Does that make sense? So if you know you're knackered, like you just know, get 3 hours, get 4.5 hours, get 6 hours. Does that make sense? Plan to wake up in your REM sleep and you'll be okay. And you need to test it because you're not me. You're older than I am, you're younger than I am, you're male, you're female, right? Does that make sense? Cool. Is that good? How many people think this has something to do with overtraining? Everybody put your hand up. Okay, good. Good, because yeah, the 90-minute rule, wake up feeling great. And quite possibly when you go to bed and wake up needs to be consistent too. How many of you, like the old me, would go to bed kind of whenever and wake up at odd, like random? Yeah, like some nights I would go to bed at 2 in the morning, sometimes it was midnight, the odd time it was 11, sometimes it was 1:30, and then if I had a client, I'd be up at 7, or if I didn't,